What's up, guys? Scott Martin here, chilling out on Lake Toho. Hey, fish are starting to move shallow. I want to talk a little bit about sight fishing. I want to talk about some tips that are going to help you catch more fish the next time those fish get up on the bank. You know, there's a lot of things to talk about, but I'm going to break it down pretty simple for you guys. There's three baits or three techniques that I have rigged up at all times when I'm sight fishing. You know, first I want a moving bait. Secondly, I want something that I can pitch, like a creature bait on them, a little bit of weight. And then third, I want kind of a finesse, non-action type bait, like a Slim Shake. And I want to talk about those. And I'm also going to get up, I'm going to show you guys what I look for. I'm going to hopefully find a couple fish on beds, show you how to position the boat, different things that you need to do on how to become a better sight fisherman. First, let's jump into these baits real quick, and then we'll get up and fish some of them. First, a search bait, okay? Any type of swimming worm or swim bait. Okay, this is a swimming worm right here. It's got a nice swimming tail on the back of it. Got it rigged up on a 1/4 ounce weight, straight braid. Anytime I'm reeling stuff through the grass, I'm not worried about the fish seeing the line. I want to have a lot of power because I'm throwing this worm and the swim baits all back in the grass and reeling it through all the thick stuff. So I like straight braid. This is 60 pound or 65 pound P-line X braid. Trocar straight shank hook, very important. This is the TK 130. I like the 135 for flipping, but I like the TK 130 for my swimming baits, regular worm fishing. It's just it's a little bit better hook for that. But I like a straight shank because that right there is not going to get hung up in the grass. If you throw an offset hook, that bend in the offset's going to hit the grass, get moss on it, and those are things that you don't want. So you want something that's going to come through the grass very easy. This TK 130 is awesome for that. It's got a little keeper, keeps the worm all snug up on there. Weight for the swimming worm, typically anywhere from 1/4 all the way down to even weightless. Okay, it just kind of depends on the mood of the fish or the depth of the water. If I'm out in 5 or 6 foot of water, I'm going to throw a 1/4 ounce exclusively. If I'm out shallow like I am now in 1.5 foot, 2 foot of water, I'm going to bounce between the 1/4 ounce or even weightless, just depending on how the fish act. You know, you'll kind of get a feel for it. That's what I rig up on that. Long rod, this is a Phantom 7.3 heavy, long cast, and that gets the job done on that. I'm just covering water, trying to get those reaction strikes. And a lot of times, guys, the females, okay, the females will react on those moving baits sometimes even better than the males. Catch a lot of males pitching to them, but those females that are around that perimeter will chase that swim bait or that swimming worm down and catch it. My second choice is a creature bait. When I actually find a fish on a bed, I'm going to throw something like the bandito bug. This is what I've got rigged up here, 1/4 ounce weight, 17 or 20 pound fluorocarbon. I will go straight braid sometimes, 50 pound straight braid, if I can get away with it. The fish are very aggressive. They've just got up there. They're not worried about being spooked. I'll go straight braid and that's it. But if they're a little pressured or real shallow, sometimes that fluorocarbon does make a difference. Again, a straight shank hook, because again, you don't want any grass or moss getting stuck on the bend of that offset hook. So TK 130, 4/0, 1/4 ounce weight. Again, same kind of rod. This is actually a rig series by Phantom. It's a 7/8 heavy. It's really good for flipping and pitching, you know, the light stuff. When I physically see the fish on the beds, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pitch that in there and get the job done with that. Now, the last thing, if they don't want a lot of action, because there's times that the fish, you just kind of have to tell how they react to it. If I pitch that creature bait, if I pitch the bandito bug in there and the fish run off or don't really pay much attention to it, I'll switch up to the complete opposite, and that's when I'm going to throw same setup but with a Slim Shake, basically a finesse approach. There's times, guys, that you'll pitch a bandito bug in and they'll jump right on it, and then sometimes they don't. You pitch a finesse style bait and they'll get all over it. So let the fish tell you what they want. So those are your two options: something with a little action and a little bulkier, something very finessey. Same kind of deal, 17 pound line, 1/4 ounce weight or so. Now, one last thing to consider is color, okay? Pay attention, let the fish tell you what they like, whether it's action, non-action, and color. A lot of times I'll throw the natural colors, and then even I'll switch over to some dark colors or even white at times if I really want to see the bait placement. So let's get up, let's cruise around in this little bay, let's pick up the swimming worm, see what we can find, see if we can see some movement. I'll give you a few tips along the way. So this is a classic place that the fish would spawn. Look at this little open water area back here in the marsh. You got sparse cover, reeds, lily pads, a little bit of grass. hard bottom. This is what you look for, places like this. If you look out here behind me, it's super thick pads. Okay, those fish are not going to spawn out there in that real thick stuff because there's no sunlight. And number two, in that many pads, the bottom's not going to be good and hard. It's going to be a lot of soft bottom. Those fish are going to come back in here in these little open areas like this. Now, I talked about lures, but let me tell you guys, most important, you need a good pair of sunglasses. Okay, these are Costas. Get you a pair of good polarized. Okay, these are the 580 lens, silver mirror. I like that color for sight fishing. It really allows me to see in the water. The light colored lens, I don't like the gray base, I like the amber base like I have. The silver mirror has an amber base. Really lightens up the bottom good. The whites of the fish will pop. It's really good. So basically what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take this swimming worm, I'm gonna cruise right in here, and I'm gonna pay attention to what kind of movement and what kind of fish react to this thing. And watch the wake, like the worm is under the water. And watch this, guys, I can make this worm make a little wake. If I hold it up a little higher, reel a little faster. See the little wave that it's making? That's the worm making that. If you see a wave come up behind it that's much bigger, that's obviously a fish. A lot of times I'll just keep moving it, but if I'm about to run out of room, I'll kill it and let it sink to the bottom. A lot of times the fish will bite it. I was reeling the swimming worm through there and all those reeds shook. I just peeked up there and there's a nice fish on a bed. I don't want to catch it. I'm getting ready for a tournament. But again, that's what I use that bait for. A lot of times they'll bite it. I mean, there's a lot of days that I just catch fish on a swim bait or a swimming worm. But a lot of times I'm just using it to search and see movement. On a calm day like this, nothing's moving. Those reeds moved right when I went by. It told me there was a bed there. So now let's slide up there and see what we can see. I want to judge how this fish is. Okay, I'm gonna pitch from right here. I'm gonna put power poles down. Power poles down. I'm gonna stay off of it. It's a really easy bed to kind of work your bait through. I pitched past where I thought the fish was or the bed is, and I'm letting it sit still for a minute. Even just throwing it in there sometimes will spook the fish just a hair. I like to let it sit totally still. We'll move it just an inch or two. Let it sit, let it sit. You don't want to move the bait through the bed much. I want to get it to where I think the bed is and really just let it sit there and do a lot of shaking the line. See how now when I say shaking the line, here's what I mean by that. See the bow in the line right there? That's a bow in the line. I'm not tight. I have got bow in the line, and I'm going to shake that bow. Because if you get it any tighter than that, you're going to pull your bait. Every time you shake it, you're pulling your bait a half inch. The trick is to shake it without pulling your bait much at all. So you just shake that bow in your line, and it's putting a little quiver on that bandito bug. And that's perfect. I'm just watching it, watching that line. And if that fish bites, it's going to thump it, and I'm going to feel it, and it's going to swim off with it. Now, I don't want to catch this fish. It's a good one. I'm going to mark it and save it for this tournament. But that's what I'm doing. I'm just letting it chill. Just letting it chill. Now, every once in a while, I'll shake the line, shake the line, shake the line, let it sit. Shake the line, shake the line, let it sit. Then every once in a while, I'll do this, what I call a little pop, okay? And it's just to make that fish kind of react, right? You want to change the mind of that fish. Every fish is different. So he might be looking at it. He might be thinking about it because I'm just lightly shaking it. He's like, oh, okay, what's it doing? Then I'm going to give it one sharp pop. But again, don't want to move it very far. Watch this. Popped it up like that one time. And it pops that bait up and falls back down. And bring it, oh. She's got it. She's got it right now. She bit. Now let me show you one last tip, guys, and then I'm going to get back to practicing. One last tip, and it's the use of power poles. So when I'm cruising, I'm gonna give an example. See those 4 or 5 little reeds right there? Let's pretend that that's a bed right here, okay? Right there. Let's pretend that that's a bed. And I'm cruising along, and I'm looking. A lot of times you roll up on these fish and you think you spooked them. I'm looking, and all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, there's a bed right there. There's a big fish. I'm gonna power pole down. I'm gonna do the spring action. Watch this. Power poles are down. The boat loads up. I'm gonna lift my power poles up. the same time. Check that out. See how I'm backing up? I didn't touch the trolling motor one time. I went power poles down, let the boat load, kind of springs you back, and then I'll lift the power poles back up. Look how it backed up off that. If that was the bed, I've backed up now into a safe distance away so I don't scare the fish. That's a little power pole tip of the week right there for springing you back on a bed that you roll up on. Look, I'm already 10 or 15, 20 feet back now. I'm even continuing to go back farther. So if there was a big fish there, it wouldn't spook her that bad. In this shallow water like this, you'll muddy up the water. If you go past her into a big circle, you'll muddy up the water. Look right here in the water, you can see that's just from me trolling motoring the dust and all that in the bottom of the lake. So if I'd have went by that spot right there, saw a big fish, most likely that big old wad of cloud would have hit that and messed me up for a little while. So that's a little spring action. So guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing to my channel. Drop some comments below. Let me know what your favorite bed fishing bait is that you like, okay? And also let me know what other tips you'd like to see. Tournament season started. So guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you. Bam!